What can we have on our hands over in Euro 2024 quarterfinals as Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal take on Kylian Mbappe's La France, of course. Who will get through to the semi-finals? We're going to get into it. All of it next. That's right, folks, back once again with another preview video today. We're previewing Portugal up against La France, of course, for a spot in the semi-finals of this year's Euro 2024. We'll get to that in a minute. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe button. Your one-stop shop for Euro 2024 is right here under one Ruski. We're looking forward to this one. Finally, we're getting into the real heavyweight encounters after some nervy play from the big boys, such as Portugal and La France. Both really kind of got a little bit caught up with themselves in the last round, but now it's two quality sides locking horns, which should mean we've got a bit of a classic on our hands. We'll get to that in a minute. If you're new, again, subscribe. Big shout out to the VIPs. They are the patrons, but let's jump in and preview the big one. That's right, coming at you very soon. When I say soon, I mean July the 5th. It's the late game. Portugal up against La France, but let's remind ourselves how we got to this stage with Portugal, who qualified as Group J winners way back when, on the 30th of October 2023. That's right, they've been here 8 times in the past, former winners, trying to make it another one in the bag. They are managed by Roberto Martinez, the Gareth Southgate of Portuguese football, who is a Spaniard. Starman Bernardo Silva, group of F, which was not the group of death, but it seemed to be pretty simple for Portugal for the grand scheme of things, but we'll talk about that in a minute. They qualified, or the odds was 9-4 on to win the group, 25-1 on to qualify. And to win the thing, they were 8-1. Though those odds have shrunk somewhat now to 15-2, maybe around about 7.5-1 if you want to do it a little bit different way. But they're in amongst it. They're 5th favourites right now, and we'll talk about who is the favourites and all that in a little bit. My expectation was a semi-final berth. Now they're up against the heavyweight here for a spot in that semi-final. Will they get there? That's, of course, a story for another day. This is their resume so far. 2-1 opening day win against the Czechia to put themselves in command. And they secured qualification for the knockout stages after a 3-0 win over Turkey. They could not be caught. They could not even be dethroned as group winners. And surprisingly so, Georgia picked up a massive 2-0 win for them to book themselves a spot in the knockout stages. But like I said, Portugal were untroubled. They did make a wholesale changes for that match. Following on from that game, what would you could believe, a very difficult, frustrating match against Slovenia, which I want to talk about that a little bit in a second here. But they came through on the end 3-0 penalties. Ronaldo did miss a penalty, or it was saved during the match, but when you've got a big picture for this, because I want to be a little bit to talk about this. You know, don't get me wrong, the Euros is fantastic tournament. We love it. It does give the likes of Slovenia, Slovakia, Georgia, etc., chances to progress in the competition. And we still, as of right now, have a very interesting side of the bracket, which does have some, which you would consider not so heavyweight countries in the mix. But when you do come up with a quality team like Portugal, and they come up against what you would say a lesser nation in regards to football in terms in the bigger picture, you kind of get a one-sided, lopsided kind of match, which in the end, you kind of gives you rooting for the underdog, but you don't really get the best football match or best football experience. That, my friends, is about to change with of course this semi qualifying match between Portugal and France, with two teams who are boasting quality players, and we're going to finally get to see the true quality of these clubs, these countries here. Because when they're playing against the Slovenia, Georgia, Slovakia, what have you, you're kind of restricted in what you can do, because it's pretty much 90% one side, and they don't really have to defend. They don't have to, it seems to be not necessarily the most joyous experience. So I think us as viewers and even third parties, we're going to get a cracker out of our hands here, and it will take place on Friday the 5th of July. Portugal up against La France. Now these are the key individuals that will be called upon to get them through to a semi-final, with the likes of Diego Costa between the sticks. You got Nuno Mendes, Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, Ronaldo. Of course, did break down in tears after missing that penalty, which kind of signified a big flag for him. And maybe, I think he also came out at the end of it saying that this will definitely 100% be my last Euros. He didn't say it'll be his last World Cup, but he did say it'll be his last Euros. So this is my lineup for the Portuguese. We've got Costa between the sticks, Mendes, Pepe, Ruben Dias, João Cancelo, Vitinha, Paulinho, Leao, Fernandes, Silva, and Ronaldo. Now, despite this team starting at Slovenia, of course, struggling to break them down, I do think it is their strongest 11, and they will go again with this as long as they're fresh and ready and there's no awkward suspensions. But standing in the way will be La France, who again have also navigated a bit of a difficult competition so far. And of course, they did qualify as Group B winners back on the 13th of October 2023. They've been here 10 times in the past. They've won it a couple times, I think. Didier Deschamps, the manager, with the star man being Kylian Mbappe, the man in the mask right now. They were in Group D, where their odds of 15-8 on to win the group, 20-1 on to qualify to win the whole thing, 7-2. Now, those odds again have drifted to 9-2 at the moment. My expectation was a final, so maybe this was a match that was meant to be another round down the road, but we've got it now, and we're going to look forward to it. This is their resume, and again, not the most stellar performance from France so far, but what we can say is they've only conceded just the one goal in this competition. That was against Poland, but they did open it up with that narrow 1-0 win over Austria. It wasn't great, it wasn't stellar, but they got the win, courtesy of an own goal as well. Then, of course, it was the 0-0 affair against the Dutch, a little bit lucky as well to get that point, and then a 1-1 draw against Poland. Kylian Mbappe scoring from the penalty spot, am I right? And then squeaked through against Belgium in that Benelux, or whatever you want to call it, affair in Western Europe. Getting by 1-0, late goal, and booked themselves a cracker against La France. Not been great, not scoring many goals. It's been a little bit of a toothless affair for the French. But these are the players that have been called upon, with the likes of Upamecano, Saliba, Camavinga, Kante, Griezmann. But how do we make an 11? Well, this is the 11 that we're going to expect to start. And it does include the likes of Mike Magan between the six, Theo Hernandez, Saliba, Upamecano, Koundé, Rebot, Tchouameni, Kante, Mbappe, Thuram, and Griezmann. Those are the guys that we're going to be called upon. But who was the guy who did score that goal? It was Kolo Muani with the winner. So we might see him start. He might have forced his way into the reckoning with this match. But it takes place at the Volksparkstadion over in Hamburg on the 5th of July. Portugal with Martinez in the dugout. Didier Deschamps for France. Now, would we say that this is a sort of must-win game for these coaches? Will it be? My understanding, and it's just my understanding, that if Portugal were to crash out this stage, I think Martinez will probably step away, and I know Mourinho's just signed up for a Turkish club, but maybe it is the time for Mourinho to head into the 2026 World Cup. As on the flip side, if France were to crash out at the stage, maybe it's the time for Zinedine Zidane to step in and take over the reins at La France. That's what my feeling is for both these nations heading into this. They have played each other 9 times since 1984, just 1 win for the Portuguese, 6 wins for La France, and there's been 2 draws, of course. So the Portuguese are 67% form for them right now, 4 wins the last 5 up against the France side, 75% form for them heading into this round. Now, the most recent match between these two sides was a European Cup match back in, it was the semi-final, it's the 3rd round group phase, perhaps back in June 2021, 2-2 draw it was. The last time that France picked up a win was in the Nations League. It was a 1-0 win back in November 2020, with the Portuguese picking up their one and only win in the European final back in July 2016. It was that 1-0 win. That's their only win against La France heading into this. What about, of course, the public vote? We'll get to the public vote shortly. The bookies, 9-4 for Portugal, 11-8 is your French, 21-10 is the draw. The public vote, well, it is quite split down the middle. 57% going with the French, 43% going with Portuguese. But we'll see what they come out on tops in the end. Well, what about me on this one? Well, this is a difficult one. I am a German. So I'm hoping that we can navigate to the Spanish, and then we'll take on the winner of this match. If it was going to be the Germans in the semi-finals, I think I would rather play the Portuguese, because the France can just switch it on and be that force that they reckon with. However, the French, I don't know. I think they're very, very limp at the moment. Can't really score goals, relying. We expected Mbappe to just blow on the scene, but maybe that facial injury has kind of knocked his confidence a little bit. And as of recording, I think he's going to, a lot of responsibility is lying on his shoulders. As for the flip side, Ronaldo, he had a bit of a bad game in the last game. A lot of responsibility on his shoulders still, and maybe they're kind of forcing it a little bit, perhaps. A bit of one of these two superstars needs a moment of to be back in the spotlight, to reclaim the glory somewhat. And this is the game I think that will be. One of those two stars will shine. Which one will it be? Well, I'm going to go with, believe it or not, I'm going to back Ronaldo's and Portugal for the 2-1 victory in the end. It might even get to extra time, might even go to penalties, but I'm going to stick with Portugal 2-1 win. I'm going to back them. I think they've scored more goals and they're a bit more fluid up front. It was a bit of toothless display against a Slovenian side that were just resolute at the back. I don't think the French are that resolute. And I think we'll get to more joy and more goals and more drama in this game. So I'm going to back Portugal 2-1 win over the French to take it to the house, go through the semi-finals, and again, it's still on for Ronaldo to maybe get a bit of bling to his trophy camera. That's my take. Subscribe, smash the like. We'll be back for, of course, those semi-finals. One of these nations will be there. Who will they play against? Well, of course, we'll find out another day. Until then, we're done.